everybody. Good afternoon. It is Wednesday, March 22nd, and we are here for my research methods class. I see a bunch of you logging in, getting your names in the chat. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me. Can someone let me know, can you hear me and see me okay? Is everything coming through all right on your end? Just to make sure. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, great. I'm glad. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you. And I'm sorry to push the time back just a little bit today with the internet being so bad at school because of the rain. I wanted to get home so I could have a better connection. Nothing's worse than poor video quality and buffering constantly. So, anyway, we are in week number 11, and I want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about last week, and then we'll talk about what we have going on this week. And then I definitely have some reminders for you related to next week and kind of moving forward. And first, right off the bat, I don't know what all of you think about this weather, but did you see that we had a tornado warning last night? That was wild. It was from like 9 o'clock to 9:50 p.m. last night. I'm down in Simi, Moore Park area, and we had a tornado warning. I took a screenshot on my phone because I've never seen that here before. I've lived in the Midwest and I've been in tornadoes, but nothing like that here. There was a little bit of thunder and lightning, but that was wild. Yeah, it was confusing. Apparently, there was some like water spout activity and like some clouds that looked like the potential for tornadoes up near Oxnard area. But pretty crazy to see that alert. Definitely memorable. So, anyway, it's raining again. Hopefully, after today, we get a little bit of a break. Yeah, I lived in Wisconsin for 3 years, so I've been through tornadoes. I actually was struck by lightning as a child. Memorable things. Exciting stuff. So yeah, I wasn't used to getting a tornado warning here in Southern California. But anyway, we're all everything's good. Hopefully from here, I hope you're all staying safe and staying dry and hanging in there with our weather. Let's go over to Canvas together for a moment. Let's take a look at what we have going on here. So we are, as I said, in week 11. We are getting very close to spring break. Not next week, but the week after is spring break. It's coming up quickly, so there is a break for us on the horizon. But let's take a quick look at last week before we move on. I just want to kind of couple of comments. And as always, I graded these on Monday night and I send out some feedback to you, especially in regards to the homework assignment. So really quickly, let's look at discussion 10. I want to spend a little more time on the homework though. So for the discussion, I thought a lot of you did a really nice job of identifying the independent and dependent variables. That is probably the point that I'm seeing the most confusion, right? Sometimes people are switching the independent and dependent variable or not identifying the different levels or conditions of the independent variable. So always ask yourself, this is a question that's always helped me, what is the effect of the IV on the DV? What is the effect of X on Y? And that first thing is always going to be the independent variable, and the second thing, the dependent variable, right? So what is the effect of retrieval cues on, of mnemonic strategy, right? So how can we use one thing to see how it measures and affects something else? The dependent variable is dependent on what happens with the independent variable, right? So using retrieval cues, does it improve memory, right? And then how are we testing memory? So just something to kind of keep in mind. That's one thing that I'm seeing a few of you kind of mixing up a little bit. Otherwise, a lot of you did a beautiful job identifying these things, talking about the possible threats, the external validity of the experiment being, relatively poor. So a lot of you did a great job with this. I was really impressed. And same thing with the homework, but I do want to kind of go through that a little bit more. It's worth a few more points, and there was definitely kind of a range on here. So for this one, you were reading that article and looking at how environmental order is affecting somebody's choices, whether they're making healthy choices or charitable behaviors. And so the independent variable in the experiment was environmental order. Was it orderly or disorderly? And then the dependent variable was healthy choices, right? Seeing what people choose to do. Do they make a healthy choice or do they have charitable behavior? And so again, the same idea, what is the effect of X on Y? So just something to kind of try and keep in the back of your mind. It was a between subjects design. A lot of you did a beautiful job talking about the different types of validity and what are some of the things that we could control and then maybe not control. I was really impressed with a lot of your reactions to that. In terms of the external validity, there wasn't a lot of information given, and a lot of you picked up on that, right? They didn't really talk about how they gathered their sample. We don't know if it was a convenience sample or if it was random. But it was very small and specific, which means it's not overly generalizable. And a lot of you picked up on that. I was very impressed to see that a lot of you identified that. And very similar things for experiment two, right? The independent variable was orderliness. Again, is it orderly versus disorderly? But this time we were looking at how that affects creativity and a lot of the same issues, right? And so those of you who did really well on the first one, a lot of the same comments about not being generalizable. We don't know if participants were randomly assigned, which could affect the internal validity. Again, for the most part, I was really impressed with what I saw from all of you, kind of identifying each one of these things as we continue to build on everything throughout the course of our class. So I hope you felt pretty good about it. A lot of you got full points or very, very close to full points on that. So very nicely done. We do have one more homework assignment that will be due later in the semester. And then that will be it for those 4 assignments. So we move on this week to week 11. And week 11, we are looking at chapter 12. And so chapter 12, we again add another element. Now we're going to look at experiments that have more than one independent variable. So rather than looking at a very simple experiment where we are identifying the effect of X on Y, now we're looking at more than one independent variable, which gives us some kind of interesting effects that we can look at. And that's something that you'll be reading about and looking at this week. So we're looking at factorial designs here and different kinds of interactions that can occur. So make sure you read through the summary. I have a little bit about interactions and what these designs are called and how we can use them to test theories, how we can interpret the results. We can use different graphs and charts to do that, and how we can then look at different variations. On the Beyond the Book page, a little closer look at factorial designs, some advantages and disadvantages. And then I found a short video that I thought might be helpful. Sometimes it's helpful to hear somebody else explain something. And so I have this little video about factorial designs that I thought I would share with you. And then finally, on the last page, we have the different key terms that you need to know from this chapter for the next exam. So make sure you read through all of that, watch the little video that's in there, click on any links that are in there. Of course, you're going to want to read chapter 12 in the textbook. And then for the lecture video, make sure you watch this as well. It's on YouTube, so there weren't any outside videos or anything in there. Not too long, so make sure you watch through this, take notes, pay attention. That's going to really help you with understanding the content from this week. For our discussion this week, for discussion number 11, let's take a look at that together. Discussion number 11, as always, you have my instructions up here at the top and my little video kind of going through what I'm expecting for you and giving you some tips related to this topic. So what we're looking at here is a study, right? And I have this little chart right here with some information, and then you're going to be answering these questions. So in one of their studies, Strayer and his students tested whether people would get better at driving while talking on a cell phone if they practiced doing so. They had participants drive in a simulator while talking on a hands-free cell phone and while not talking on a phone. The same people participated over several days, so they had a chance to practice at multitasking. On the first day, they were considered to be the least experienced, and on the last day, the most experienced. On the last day, they were tested in both a familiar environment and a slightly different driving environment to see if the first days of practice would transfer to a new context. The researchers collected data on how many collisions or accidents the drivers got in the simulator, and here are the data. So what you can see here is we have this little experiment. And so with the experiment, we're talking about, how many different variables that we have. And that was somebody's question. So that's kind of your challenge to figure out here. Is it a 2x2? Is it a 2x3? Is it a 3x3? So if you watch that little video that I put in the lecture for this week, that should be really helpful for that. But if you're looking at this, you can see the different independent variables, right? So here's one independent variable, right? Are they doing a single task or a dual task? And here's the other independent variable, right? Are they familiar or in a new context, right? And so we have day one, day four, and day four in a different context. So when you look at these charts, hopefully you can start seeing the independent variables and their levels. I think they're pretty obvious there. And then the dependent variable of what they're trying to do. So that's your questions for this week. Right, number one, what kind of design is this, right? And think about what chapter we're in. It gives you kind of a little bit of a clue. And then put your answer in it. Is it a 2x2, a 3x3? And again, if you watch my lecture video and all of that, that should be really helpful for you. I don't want to give you the answer because that's kind of the point, is to see if you can generate it. But I want to point you in that right direction. What are the independent variables and their levels? What is the dependent variable and how are we measuring it? And then I'm going to have you create, either by computer or by hand, either one is totally fine, a little line graph depicting the results that are shown above. And you're going to upload that image into your discussion post. So this can be done by hand in color, it can be done on a computer, whatever's easiest for you. And some of the sample charts and graphs in the book are going to be really helpful for how you could maybe format that. And then I want you to estimate and describe any main effects and interactions in this study. You would need statistics if you were going to calculate anything specific, so you're just estimating and describing based on what you see in your line graph from number 4. And then number 6, what might you conclude from the results of the study? Does experience affect cell phone use when you're driving? Is number of collisions affected by any of these things? And what could you say? So I hope that helps a little bit. Like, oh, you can see a couple of you have already done your graphs and charts, which is fantastic. So, definitely take a look at what other people are doing. You are more than welcome to do that. Don't forget to reply to my posts and then also to one of your classmates as well. So that is your discussion for this week. So you're reading chapter 12 in the book, watching the lecture video, doing the discussion. I will give you the extra credit in a minute here. But any other questions for now about the discussion or about anything this week at all before I keep going? Ooh, I have a cat. Hold on. Look it. I can bring a cat over. Not very often I can bring a cat. This is Squash, right? This is my cat, Squash. Like, very cranky. She's my least friendly cat. But she came over, so I scoop her right up. One advantage to getting to teach from home, right, is that I get to include my cats whenever possible. Yeah, the kids wanted to name her Water Bottle. I said no. So she is now Squash, or Squash Carrots is her full name. Squash Carrots Setmire. So anyway, sorry to be distracted. I just thought she was there. I thought I would share her with you. So I have a couple of quick reminders for you, and I'm going to put these in the chat here. The first one, as always, if you could do me a favor and double check your subscription status. We are in week 11, so quite a few of you have fallen off as we hit these like 30-day cycles. So if you could just take a quick look and make sure that you are still subscribed, and if you're not, renew it, or if you've never done it, you could still sign up for that, which would be amazing. If you're not, make sure you put your name in the chat somewhere, but I really do appreciate all of you who have been doing that throughout the semester. It saves me so much time, so thank you for that. The second thing I want to remind you of, there will be no Twitch live stream next week. So next week, and I put that in the chat here, next week I am going on a cruise. I've mentioned it to you a couple of times. I actually fly out tomorrow, and the cruise leaves on Saturday, and I am ridiculously excited, though I still have so much to do before we leave. So I won't have access to internet, so we will not have a live stream next week. So what I have done, because I won't be here, is I have recorded a little video already. So when you get to week 12, and it's not quite available for you yet, you'll see it right here though, I have posted a recording of our week 12 live stream. So what I've done is given you some reminders and talked a little bit about like what's going on next week, some tips for the exam, and so on. So make sure that you watch that at some point next week, but we won't be meeting like usual on Wednesday because I will literally be, I believe, in Honduras on Wednesday next week, or Belize, one or the other. So forgive me for that. I'm sorry for the interruption. And then the week after that is spring break. So after today's live stream, we won't have another one for a couple of weeks, but But again, I did record that video for you, and hopefully that will be really helpful with reminders. I also want to let you know that if you email me anytime after Saturday, so you'll get an away message. I'm going to put an automatic message on my email. Please feel free to reach out if you have issues or something comes up. But if I don't get back to you, don't worry. I won't have great reception. Excuse me, great reception on the ship. So I will reply to my emails when I get back. When I get back to California on April 2nd. So forgive me for any lapse in responding. I try to be really on it all the time, but it will be a little bit interrupted over this next week. So again, no live stream next week. Let me give you the Twitch extra credit questions so that you can get the points for joining me today. Oops. Where did it go? Oh my gosh, it disappeared on me. That's not good. It was here a minute ago. That is the wrong one. All right, let me type it here. So this is the week number 11 Twitch extra credit. So what I want you to do for this is, what is the difference between a main effect and an interaction effect? Okay, and this is going to be something that's going to help you a little bit with your discussion and like kind of thinking about the topics for this week. So what is the main difference, or what is the difference between a main effect and an interaction effect? And you can define them or kind of describe it, whatever makes sense to you. But what is the main difference between a main effect and an interaction effect? And when you're ready to answer that, you will go to optional Twitch extra credit number 11 right here. And when you click on that, you can click on Start Assignment up at the top. And that will bring up the text box where you can type your response and then hit submit. Okay, and you can do that anytime before this Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And that will get you those 2 points for joining me. And again, I won't see you next week, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Enjoy the break from the rain. It looks like it's going to give us a little bit of a break. I'm going to Texas, and there are like severe thunderstorms there. So I go from rain to rain. I'm just going to follow the rain across the country, apparently. But that's okay. It'll be fun to be somewhere different for a day. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. If you think of any questions, I will hang out for a little bit, and I'm happy to answer them for you. Otherwise, get going on the materials for this week. Watch the video next week. I will miss meeting with you on Wednesday. I'll tell you what, I will make you a deal. I will eat a dessert for each one of you on the cruise. I can handle that. They have this like chocolate melting cake that I'm very excited for. So I will eat one for each of you, just so you know that I miss you, right? I think that's very considerate of me. I'm a very kind person, right? Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. I'm going to minimize my video, but I will hang out for a little while. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm hoping everything is smooth and safe, right? That's probably my biggest concern. So thank you so much. I appreciate the well wishes. Thank you. Eat 2 chocolate cakes for you. Done. I'm so thoughtful. I would be happy to do that for you. And yes, I'll definitely happy to tell you about it when I get back. Thank you. And I am still here if any of you think of any questions. I'm still hanging out.